I've had this discussion with a few people. So we'll get to the last couple questions here. Before we end the interview off, but I have to say that the Bravewords Records thing, I think, has worked out really well for you. It always seems like there's a different. They have a pretty interesting, not interesting, but a very different way of marketing bands. Not afraid to try anything different.
Well, bingo. In consideration of doing this Bangalore Choir thing, my options are up at the other label, and every time I did a record with them, I'd go to this plateau, and then, because in media, like you see this hype campaign for 4 to 6 weeks before release. Day after the record's at Amazon, crickets. And I said, I know Bravewords has a team of guys that have been in the industry 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. They know what doesn't work and what does. So I was so ignorant to the social media part of where we are now in the music world that Brandvold chewed on me pretty good. And your platform sucks, Reece. We got to build this. So I'm glad I made that choice. And I did it for nothing as a budget. And I had a team of guys that I know that respect me, Reinvention, Giles, Henderson, Michael Brandvold. I mean, I got a list today with your interview included. There's like 12 interviews coming up in the next few days. And then I'm off for a major tour in a month. It has been fantastic. And the cool thing about Rapid Fire Succession is you got Act 1 and Act 2. So you can talk about Act 1 in an interview, and a lot of the people are asking me to come back a month or two later. Let's do Act 2 after the record's been out and you're home from touring. Let's talk about Act 2. So that gives me a platform, you know what I mean? And that was kind of my idea. And then I presented it to them and they go, yep, that's going to work. So yes, I think Bravewords is a label that aren't afraid to talk directly to you. You can reach them. They're not going to blow the smoke and do the routine regurgitated circle of media. And, Brandvold's at the KISS thing this weekend. I mean, today I literally got your notification for this interview like an hour before I emailed you. And there was a list of 10 more behind it. I'm like, he's working. Mm-hmm. And it's Saturday.
He has a great setup for how he actually books those. And for those that are watching this or listening to this, in the show notes, especially if you're in a band that is of any kind of notoriety looking for a label, there's an entire podcast with Giles and Michael about how they do things and about the label. I'll put that in the show notes.
Like 4-part series, isn't it, or something?
Well, I always do the full interview, then I cut it up into spots. But and the interesting thing is that Michael and I have sort of had a very similar experience, when we ended up getting into doing this kind of stuff. We could, because it all started in like the late 90s when the internet first went up. So him and I, we have a very similar start with that. So I'm able to relate to him when he posts a lot of things, or when he does, his music industry podcast, or he does the Three Sides of the Coin podcast, because I was there, man, in the late 90s doing stuff for bands, and it's fun to talk to him because he's not afraid to do different stuff. Very few people that are doing this. I can name maybe one or two other people that are really not afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you're thinking outside of the box. And I think that's what
I love about what you're saying. Exactly what we were talking about earlier. You've got kind of connected to the AI thing.
Yeah.
We as the human species have the capacity to think outside of the box rather than somebody else doing it for us on a more organic level where, you know what, I'm going to try this. Like you said, you want to hear a real rock and roll band? No AI involved. This is the real deal. I may suck tonight, but I'm doing it. And like I said, the boy chewed on me pretty good with my platforms. And he's broadened my horizons. I've learned it.
Yep.
Things that I never even knew about. So I'm grateful for that. I think I made a great choice, and I hope we have a fruitful relationship with each other. And, they're connected to Global Rock Records in the UK. And Brian and Robin are really involved with them as partners. So it's a strong organization. They're not afraid to take chances.
Well, I will tell you, I've been at this. It'll be 28 years in 2026. Woo! So I can tell you, I've watched it all evolve, and those guys are legit. They're the real deal.
Yeah.
Because I've been around. And
they're not dumb. They've got an eye for talent. They know if you follow the mantra and the lead, what they're thinking of how to market this thing that we do. You better be willing to listen, because I know a lot of bands that will not. And that's why they're sitting at home and nobody's calling.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because we talked about that. I don't know if you watched that, but we actually talk about So we talk about bands that won't listen. And what's interesting is that the bands that listen, that actually pay attention and are willing to be open-minded about things, they're the ones that are being successful. I have a few bands. I'm not going to mention any of their names, but they'll listen to me when I tell them something. Or if I see something that is successful, I'll tell them and be like, okay, we'll do more of that. And that's what happens. And I think the bands that are going to listen to the people that are willing to think outside of the box, I think, are the ones that are going to do well. They don't have this arrogance about them where they think they're too big for this, or they just don't want to do that. I can
tell you, bro, I know bands from the 80s that I've toured with that are asking for the $15,000 a night and more per show. And it's so unrealistic. And they get furious of the offers that are coming across the table. And they're putting 3-band packages together of all my level notoriety to fill in the rooms. But they, for some reason, believe that they should have all of these extras added on. It ain't 1985 anymore.
No.
And those are the bands that are failing. And they're bitter. They're not creating anything that's listenable. And that's their problem. I'm happy. I mean, I make mistakes every day, as well as you probably do, but
yeah,
I need a record company to choose on me, not in a corporate matter like, say, Giant Warner Brothers did, where it was like, they did a bunch of blow and I got a hangover the next day and they're in a bad mood and they're cussing at you, because they forgot to do what they said they were going to do, and somehow it's my fault.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
No.
Not like that. I need to surround myself with people that like-minded, who are after the same thing, because this thing isn't dead, because we're talking about it. There's people out there that think like you and me. And if it was dead, you wouldn't have a platform. And then I wouldn't be singing and making records.
Right. Absolutely. Really quick to end this off, you have some shows coming up, I'm guessing. What do you have coming up? What do you have coming up right now? Because I know you're going to be on the road at some point here.
November 25th, we start with Girls School in Alcatraz. We kick off on a pretty grueling 14 nights, I think, 1 day off thing. Alcatraz with Giles is actually in Scandinavia tonight. Girls School. They're up there for like a week, I think, and then we meet up with them at the end of the month, and we kick off in Belgium and going through Germany, Czech Republic. It's a great tour. It's actually, those two bands are packing out Scandinavian shows right now. They're on a cruise ship tonight, I think. They're playing a cruise show.
Right. And for those that listen to the show, I just had a recent interview with Jimmy Waldo from Alcatraz.
Oh, right.
And Jimmy's actually got a lot of connection here in Cleveland, believe it or not. He knew a lot of places on the east side, and he grew up in Ohio, I believe. So we talked a little bit about that before we did the interview, but there is an interview with Jimmy. There was an interview with Giles a few months ago where he talked about that and other things pertaining to Alcatraz, and of course the Dragon's Claw album that he sang on, and a few other things. But yeah, I met
Giles. That's how I met him. Dragon's Claw. He contacted me in like 2010 when he was living in Australia, asked me to do a duet with him on one of his songs. I'm like, sure. And that's how we met, and we've been friends, 15, 20 years. I've known Giles forever. And I wish him nothing but the best. And Jimmy, I've done some records with. Jimmy played on this record.
He did.
A couple keyboard parts. Yep.
Yes, he did. Yep.
So I'm looking forward to seeing those clowns. I mean, everybody likes each other, so it should be pretty comfortable.
Yep.
For as much comfort as going to be around, because it's going to be pack them in and get going, you know?
Yeah. Well, I got to be honest, man. It was fun to have you on again. I definitely really love this record. Again, anybody out there, Rapid Fire Succession Part 2, new Bangalore Choir album. It is out, and I'm really digging it. Definitely a lot of great melodies in it. Just a lot of great songs. The songs are more straight to the point, but it's kind of a mix between heavy metal, a little bit of AOR mixed in there, and I definitely dig the record. I think you've done an outstanding job on this.
You know what? Thank you, brother. I appreciate the interview, and I wish you nothing but everything you're going for. And if there's anything I can do to help, you know how to find me.
Absolutely. Hey, it's Tony here from the Metal Command Show. I want to thank you for watching this portion of the program. Since 1998, I have hosted the show, which started off as a radio program and is now into the podcast format. So I want to thank you for watching and or listening. And if you want to support the program, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell to be notified anytime I do post any content. A lot of you have been supporting the show and really, really helping this show grow, and I cannot do it without all of you. So with that said, thanks for watching. Stay metal.